Welcome to the Sound Mind Strategy Podcast with your host, Evan
and Anina Blankenship.
This podcast is aimed to be an in-depth discussion between husband and wife power couple where we take on challenging topics in the mental health and wellness arena.
By trade and training, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified professional coactive coach, USA Cycling National Champion, and I love to push my limits both physically and mentally.
As for me, I am currently in a master's program for sport and performance psychology, where I'm also on track to become a certified mental performance consultant. I've also been coaching athletes for the last 5 years, helping them reach their truest potential.
We're both very passionate about athletic performance, mental skills training, spirituality, and we love to take a holistic approach to helping people find harmony in their mind, body, and spirit.
We believe that there's greatness inside of everyone. Our mission and the mission of this podcast is to help you unlock and operate within yours. Hello, everybody. Welcome back or welcome to the Sound Mind Strategies podcast. This is your host, Evan, and got my lovely wife, Anina, sitting next to me. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been a busy weekend. Just kind of giggling because it just seems like it's been go, and it's been nice to now finally have a minute just to sit down and talk about some things. Over this past weekend, I had the opportunity to lead a presentation on suicide prevention for a program out of Illinois called Got Your Six. It's a program where they get veterans with PTSD, they get them a service dog. So it's like a 14-day process where they, spend the night there and pay for all their lodging, all their meals, and really start to figure out which dog is going to be best suited, for that veteran. And
That's cool. How do they pair the dogs to the veterans?
You know what? One of the persons told me that the trainer, she actually, like, for instance, if the veteran is like, kind of shy and really like kind of introverted, we'll perhaps get them a dog that's a little more extroverted to kind of like balance, kind of just balance their personality. I thought that was really cool to hear that. So
Neat.
It's something that was, I felt very honored to be asked to be a part of. And it was really great because, they are interfaced with veterans who are struggling at times. And so just to really help their staff figure out ways to address, suicide.
So it sounds like you've kind of had a busy weekend and busy week leading up to it, right?
Yes. Yeah. A lot of just preparation for it over these last couple weeks. And and then the final day of doing it, just kind of getting out there and doing the uncomfortable. I don't always enjoy speaking out in public, but I'm like, you know what? I got to keep doing the uncomfortable. So that was our little baby Cooper flapping his ears.
So it sounds like you're kind of having to really learn that balance of just like pushing on, working really hard, and then also on the other side of it, just like how to rest and recover. I'm kind of in the same boat. I've been training really hard and got school kind of coming to a close here in the next couple weeks. So it's just it's been fun, but at the same time, it's very taxing. So I have to kind of play that balance too. Just how do I know when to just keep pushing? How do I know when to rest, recover? So kind of that's just kind of the encompassing topic for discussion today.
Yes.
Rest, recovery, recharge.
Such an important topic too. So.
Yeah. It's got a lot of questions surrounding this. So how do you recognize when you need rest, recovery? How do you recognize when you need to keep pushing and kind of like finish something out or finish out that goal or a training block or whatever it is? I mean, life throws us all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Challenges and different things that we're striving and pushing towards. And then as well, just when do we know when to pull up, ease up, take a day for ourselves or longer, right?
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. And I think sometimes it comes down to our personalities. Sometimes it's so innate it's innate within us. It is keep pushing on, and never giving ourselves that time or permission to relax.
Just to kind of cut you off there a little bit. You said innate. Do you think it is innate, or do you think it's society? I mean, do you think it's like something that's just in us to just keep pushing on towards something, or that's just what we're told that you have to do? Like, if you want to be successful, if you want to succeed in whatever adventure, athletics, business, whatever, if you're starting your own business or in your own career path, it doesn't have to, you could be working somewhere for someone, and that's cool. Or you could be an athlete, amateur athlete. You could, it could be a side venture too, just for fun. So how do you know when and how to handle that?
Right. So you're asking if it's innate or if it's personality or if it's a combination, perhaps.
Yeah. Just society telling you, are you really even committed because you're resting?
Yeah. And I do kind of think it could be, I think it's, of course, unique to every single person, but I think, it can be a combination. Some people have that type A personality just to drive on, and perhaps they tell themselves that means there's something, wrong about them. They're being lazy, just unappreciative of the things they have, just keep pushing hard. And then I do think society does kind of put that on you, like, we're not human beings so much as we're like human doings. It's always do.
Always,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of do our self-worth, when you ask people, what are they doing? It's always, typically, oh, I'm so busy. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. It's always we're doing.
Well, isn't that the big I don't know, cop out, or it's just the big reason why, if they want to do any, like to lose weight or to start going to the gym or to do anything that they would think would be an add-on beneficial, it's just like, I don't have time for that. I'm way too busy. So I think just society and life just has us way too busy doing things that really don't matter. It's just filler stuff that really just eats up a lot of our time and energy.
Yeah, I think so too. And I remember somebody telling me one that time, like, we make time for the things that are important to us and matter to us.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it really is important to you, you'll find the time. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. I think it's individualized, a society. It can be a combination. What are your thoughts?
I honestly, I completely agree. I think you do have those different personality types, the type A's, like you mentioned, that are just going to push on no matter what. Mm-hmm. If it's an athletic endeavor, if it's an injury, or they just, they'll cut something out to get the workout in. If it's on the training plan or coach says to do it, or if it's something that they wrote out for themselves, I'll sleep 30 minutes just so I have time to do the workout. Or I kind of feel this thing in my knee, but instead of resting, recovering, healing properly, I'm going to just keep driving on because I can't miss my workout, and then it becomes a big issue. Right. And then society says, well, you're not committed to your goal. If are you even training, or are you even pursuing that business endeavor?
Sure doesn't look like it.
Yeah, you're like taking time off. You're like spending time with your family. And,
very true.
So I completely agree. It's a little bit of both. Yeah, for sure.
Both. Yeah. So what do you?
Well, I kind of want to just start with how do we recognize when we need the rest? What are some of the things that you've noticed personally, maybe, or with some of the clients that you're working with? Like, how do you recognize or help them recognize when they need to kind of like hit pause, do a little reset, a little mental check-in?
Right. It is, it's kind of different for everybody, but I think it's the longer I work with a client, the longer I'm able to kind of figure out their demeanor, kind of like these patterns they get into. So, like for instance, if I'm working with someone and it's like, we keep revisiting this topic over and over and over, and I can just tell by like what they're saying, their body language, that they're just kind of like stuck in this rut. Mm-hmm. I'll say, hey, I'm noticing that like, we're not getting anywhere. You seem like you're really depleted and losing a lot of your energy. Every time we talk about this topic, why don't we perhaps just kind of put like a little tab in that section, and let's try to look at a different area right now. So I will try that sometimes, and that seems to help because it kind of just gives them like a little break because they're just spinning their wheels, going nowhere fast. So that is like one way I'll kind of be able to recognize with my clients, and just let's take a break from those whatever that topic was that we were talking about. And then I think like for myself, I notice it's just like if I'm becoming like really irritable, or if I'm always tired, and just kind of feeling like my heart rate is always really high, and I'm just having a hard time sitting still. That's when I know I need a break. Like I've got to figure something out.
Right. Now, will you notice that through athletic training or just stress at work or a little bit of both or?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both. Like I did notice when I was training a lot last year for the Masters Nationals, I started noticing it because it was impacting my training. And so I really...
Work was?
Yeah, work was. And so I really just had to like... it was hard, like really figure out how to balance that and not take all my work home with me and not always be thinking about it and consuming me because it was carrying over into my workouts and impacting my workouts.
Well, you at that time, right, you were working full-time, training pretty much full-time, as many hours as you could. And then also working towards certification and everything. So you were doing... you were busy.
Yeah, I had a lot really going on. And I remember that one night I was just like, oh my gosh, I got to do something. And that is too when I noticed like my caffeine intake was getting really, really high. So that was like a good reset for me. Like, okay, start to limit that caffeine again because...
Well, you were using it as a crutch, right?
I was, yes. Yeah. So that was a good reality check for me because my heart rate was always really high and I was just always on edge.
Did you notice like sleep starting to deteriorate? And
yeah, I did. I couldn't
poor?
sleep. Yeah, I just wasn't sleeping as soundly anymore, getting up a lot throughout the night and just always having some stuff on my mind.
Right.
And just never giving myself a break.
Yeah. I guess for me in that regard, like with working with my athletes and then me personally, like those are kind of some of the same things that I look for. Mm-hmm. Like what are their comments saying after their workouts? Are they just like always fatigued, just not hitting numbers that they need to hit? Just they're reporting their sleep is poor. They're just not performing really well. They just kind of feel burnout, or they're just kind of maybe avoiding some workouts, or and then me personally, like I'm kind of more on the terms of like I'll steal time or energy from other areas because I like mentally I just cannot miss a workout, right? It'll suffer, it'll be poor, but I'll get it in. It'll be a box to check. So my sleep will be poor, or I'll take time from school, or which isn't good. Like on a priority list, that's higher.
Should be number one.
But
yeah,
like
up there.
It's a box to check, Like I'm checking all the boxes, but they're all being done substandard from what my standards are. So that's just one of the things that I notice. Very similar. My caffeine intake will go up. My sleep will be less sound. I'll wake up more through the night. I just won't sleep as well. The hours are irregular. So I won't really sleep anymore. If anything, I'm sleeping less and more irregular.
Right.
And then, those are just telltale signs for me. I just need a little break.
Yeah, and you start to think how much that impacts us. Obviously it spills over into everything and impacts, our memory, our body functions. Our body's working really hard to keep up with this. So is the mental piece too. And it's just, obviously it's not very sustainable.
Well, recovery is huge, right? Like the reason we train, study, do anything is like, or work. I view it all the same. It's just whatever end goal you have. Like we're putting ourselves through these training blocks, stressors to bring on the adaptation, right? But adaptation's only made through rest. So that's when the changes are made. Like when all the studying you did actually sinks in, all the training you did actually,
has time to manifest in your body and
so
show up for you on race day.
Like, you can train all you want, but if you're not resting, you're not going to make the adaptations that you're training for and resting for, right? Or wanting, rather.
Exactly.
So
that's very true.
Kind of just going into that though, how do you know the difference between I need to rest or I really just need to kind of push on? I feel all those signs. I see all the signs. My spouse, significant other, coach, whoever is close to me is saying, man, you look kind of like you need a rest, like, but how do you know the difference between like, I just need to push on or I do need to pull up and take a rest? Because I do think there are some times where we do need to just toughen up and push on. Right?
Yeah, that's so
not
true.
not forever, but I mean for that short bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is a really good question because I think that is hard to kind of like tease out. At least it is for me, anyhow. It's really hard for me to tease out because a lot of times it's my thoughts around it. Like, am I just being lazy right now, or do I really need that break? So I honestly don't know. Like, as I'm thinking about this, if I've really figured out, what it is, like when I need to actually take the break or when I just need to push on. And just thinking about it, I think actually what I do now that I'm thinking is I just sit and do like a mental inventory with myself and just really figure out like where I'm at with things. Like, am I not wanting to do this, press on because I'm trying to avoid something? Kind of understanding maybe what the underlying emotion is, because I think sometimes I don't want to press on because it's scary, it's hard. I don't want to. I don't know what's going to be on the other side, so I don't want to push on. So I kind of want an excuse or a way out.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's really important. Like to be able to hit that, to just that really quick snapshot of mental pause of like, why? What's the underlying cause? What's the real motivation for me to like want to pull back? Is my body screaming at me to say rest? Is my brain just like so fatigued from pushing on and, or like you said, am I scared of what's on the other side? Am I nervous about it? Like, is it that, am I fear of success, fear of failure?
Right.
All the negative thoughts I have surrounding it, like, and then.
Yeah. It's where like journaling comes so much into play. I think,
that's
for me
huge.
too.
Yeah. Journaling is really big. I think it gets all the stuff in your head that's even just hard to talk about, just to put it out on paper. And there's really kind of no attitude, emotion, and stuff tied to it anymore. You can just like, it's almost like a filter. Like you can just process it. And as you read it, you process it differently than thinking it.
Yeah.
For me,
isn't that? Yeah.
For me, it works like that. Same
way. Yeah. It's so crazy. Just the impact it can have on you.
Yeah.
When you do that. But what about you? How do you know the difference?
Well, it really depends. Like, so my idea is going to be kind of one on the athletic side when I'm writing workouts and coaching, and the other one is kind of more personal on the athletic side, but also more just like school and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So just to kind of start with me personally, it really just depends on where I'm at with everything. Like, right now I have like 2 weeks left before finals. So do I take a rest now? Well, no, I push on, right?
Right. Even though maybe you want to, right?
Rest is coming. And, but really that really parallels exactly the way I coach is what's going on in their life currently. Do they have a lot going on right now? Like if they're traveling or if they're working heavily, if they have deadlines at work, well, I don't schedule them quite as heavy. But if it's just normal, just, then I kind of train, like build a few weeks and give a nice little rest week. But even within those weeks, there's rest built into each week. So it really depends on where we're at in the cycle. Like if we're, right in the heart of it, maybe an extra rest day. But if we're like right at the very tail end of it, okay, this is what we're training for. This is the extra stress that we need. Rest is coming. Push on. You can do it. And so a lot of times they're just maybe lacking the motivation because they are really tired because we're right at the end of a big training block, right? So they are going to be fatigued and their body's going to be screaming at them. Their mind's going to say, we're not used to going this hard this long.
Right.
We're stretching, and that's the point. You want to not overtrain, but you kind of want to push past the limits and then rest, and then you make those proper, the overcompensations. That's how you get fitter, faster, stronger.
Right.
So it really depends on where they're at. Like sometimes, just weird things happen. Weather changes. They didn't sleep well. Life events, we all have just those weird, like you get those random calls, right? Where something completely changes.
Yeah, it throws you off.
So
yes, so true.
You have to be malleable and adaptable to life, So I think that's a big part of it, is just one, understanding it. And it's exactly like what you mentioned, being able to take that inventory and find out what the real reason is. But there's some times when you do need to push on. So I'm really, really kind of tired of writing and reading, but it's the final hour. Push on.
It's like, I gotta get
rest
this
is
done.
coming, or at the tail end of a training block. Well, this is why we train. This is why we train the way we train, with structure and building. So rest is coming, or new life event. Let's just take a day.
Yeah, right. So what are, like, I guess, just curious, like, what are some things that you do to help nourish your body, your mind, give it a little recharge?
Yeah, so this is an area that I love to explore, and I've kind of tried a lot of different things on the physical side of recovery. Some of the things that I love is just like yoga, stretching, just some routine to me is really helpful. So if I can just set up like a morning routine with just a little bit of mindfulness meditation practice, reading is really good. An evening routine also, that gratitude journal, I know we've talked about it. To me, that's good. It's just one of those daily built-in rechargers. But on the other side, like, I really like compression boots. I think everyone may not be familiar with them, but they're just like big giant boots that go from your toes to all the way up to your hips, and kind of
so nice.
Squeeze your legs.
Yeah.
So that's one I love. Massage is another one. I'm a big fan and have started doing cryotherapy.
Yeah, you love that.
I'm really, really liking it. Yeah, so I've been going pretty much every single day, and I really like it. I still think it's a little early for me to like see some real benefits from it, but so far I'm really liking it.
And the infrared sauna too, right?
Yeah, and that's really, for me, like, I don't know a lot about I know there's some good science on the health benefits, the physiological side, but for me, just when I get in there, like, it's just a big shut the brain off and just 30 minutes to myself, and just, so that's been really good. And then on the mental side, a lot of the same things, like the sauna, or just a nice quiet walk to be able to think and talk to,
a mindful walk.
Yeah, really. It's just to be out in nature, to connect with nature, to kind of unplug. I think that's huge. If I can take like even just a really short media fast, just kind of get everyone and everything out. And just kind of, so I try, one of the things that instead of huge blocks of recovery and rest, I like to just microdose it, get a little bit every day, and then take on the big one when I need it. When those big ones are coming, the end of training blocks, the end of, after finals, those big set out ones. That way you can really enjoy those.
Yeah, I really like how you were doing the microdosing. It seems to make a lot of sense, because it's being sprinkled into your everyday. So then when it doesn't seem so foreign. I think you're like conditioning yourself that this is a way I take care of myself, instead of all of a sudden being like, now I need to take like 5 days of a mindfulness break, and just, which can be helpful, but like it can feel so foreign. So this way it's like, I imagine
it doesn't feel quite as foreign, and I think it lets me recover from each day's activity or stressor, whatever it is, whether it's study or on the bike or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I think sometimes I know for myself, I let everything just keep compounding and compounding, and the next thing I know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a break, and it's kind of it's almost too late sometimes. It's like, because you're to that limit.
Yeah, I don't want to say too late. I don't think it's ever too late, but I mean, you're going to spend way more time than you needed to having to recover, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What else do we have here? One of the other things that I really wanted to touch on was like, one of the things that I really kind of like preach to the athletes that I work with, and I've talked to you about it, is that gray zone training. And I think this this parallels everything too, real life scenarios, whatever you're doing. You know, if you're pursuing a new business or whatever is, so gray zone is your easy days aren't really that easy. You kind of always just push it that little bit too much. And then the days that you are supposed to be going really hard, you can't really go as hard as you need to because you didn't rest properly. So everything just kind of ends up in these weird shades of gray of like not quite hard enough and not quite easy enough. And everything's just kind of like really not that beneficial. So the days that I'm really supposed to just like be out hammering, I can't hit the stuff that I'm supposed to. And then when I'm resting, well, I'm like, I'll just give it that little bit extra.
Right.
You know, and that, I think that goes the same in like entrepreneurial stuff too. It's just like the hours or days that we set out to do the recharge, we don't. We just try to fit those couple extra things in there, right?
Right. Yeah. So, that's so true. That's so true. And that can lead to burnout real fast when you're not taking that time. Yeah.
And then mental burnout leads to, I think, high levels of physical stress, and then you end up getting weird injuries. I mean, even if you're not an athlete, like you're just stressed, which is cortisol, which you're just burning out, and you're just kind of always going to be at your eating gets off. Like, so you're eating poorly, you're trying to find energy through anything possible, whether it's caffeine or high fat, high carb. You're trying to, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love carbohydrates, but healthy eating. So you're just searching for anything. So it's going to be the junk food. It's going to be caffeine and extra caffeine, and throw another shot in there, and afternoon coffee, and then then your sleep is messed up because you have so much caffeine flowing through you. It's a cyclical issue, isn't it? This never ends. Yeah, it really is a really bad spiral, you know?
Yes, it really is. I know, like, for myself, some things I've tried to do to recharge. I have like so many things, but some of the ones I like to highlight, I like that Abide app. It's a really nice app. It's like a Christian-based app where it has like a different scripture and then just gives you time to really think about it and ponder over it. I really like that. Also, one of my good friends, Sarah Barron, she was actually my college roommate with Rebel Health. She introduced me to a nourishment menu, and I loved this idea.
What's a nourishment menu?
Yeah, so what it was is that, like, I have this list of things that nourish my mind and body. So on mine, I have massages, skipping instead of walking. She one time sent me these little fake tattoos, which was awesome, just to just to have fun, and just recharge yourself and nourish yourself with things that can be really beneficial to you. Have a no day where just everywhere you go, anything anyone asks you, just say no.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Right. Yeah. So I haven't really tried that one yet, but it is on my menu. So look out. It's going to be on there. Don't call me on that day.
Some of those small things get overlooked of just how powerful they are, of laughing and having fun and connecting to like childhood things that, just you had a lot of fun, and just, I mean, even the chemical responses, all the physiological changes that go on when you just are in a lighthearted mood, right? We're laughing and smiling and seeing everything through positive, sunshiny lenses, you know?
Totally do. I know, and like the other day, it makes me think how you challenged me to go out and get in my rollerblades. And, I totally ran into a parked car. Their alarm went off, and it was amazing. And
you did not.
I totally did. Yeah. And the lady was out there, and she was like, "Oh, no, it's okay." And I was like, this is really embarrassing, but I just started laughing because I'm like, you know what? The body doesn't know the difference between a genuine and a fake laugh. Even though I'm really crying inside, I'm going to start laughing.
That's great. That's
but really cool. It felt very good just to get out and get on my rollerblades. But, sometimes things like that happen. But yeah. And also, doing like a detox, like, I just came off that 3-day doing some raw vegan meals, and that really boosts my energy like no other. I felt incredible. Like I could just go.
So what all was it more like cutting things out or just limiting, or kind of what was that about?
Yeah, it was kind of more like doing like a juice, a smoothie, and then having like a raw vegan meal. But the kicker is that I had to really listen to my body and notice when I was hungry, and really limit the snacking in between meals, and also like slow down and chew my food, because we know like our food, chewing it in our mouth is really when the digestion
first stage of digestion
right
in the mouth.
Yeah, and you saw like I was at the dinner table longer because I was actually chewing my food.
Yeah, I think you and I think it's just the way society's gone, but I know you and I, especially being athletes who were chronically hungry, right? Endurance athletes,
military,
and being military.
Yes.
Where, even before the endurance athlete stuff started, we were just like trained to eat as fast as possible.
Right.
Come on, you gotta go. So, that takes a lot of thought, like
it does,
to slow down.
Yeah, and it was hard at first.
Taste your food.
Taste
I
your
don't even know what it tastes like.
Oh, I know. And then sometimes I'm like, ooh, I don't really like this as much as I thought it did. Now that I'm actually like tasting it, not just gobbling it down. But yeah. So, and I also think too, another big one is like being around people that boost your energy. I think we can all probably think of that one person in our life that just is kind of like, you hate to say it, but like that Debbie Downer. They always just have something negative to say, never lifting you up, and it starts to wear on you.
It does. Sometimes you kind of have the energy and like the, I don't know, just the mental attitude to handle it, but do you need to? Right.
Is it really worth your health and your energy and your time?
That's, you hear that a lot. You see that on Facebook and stuff, like doing the friend list cleanse, and it's like, you kind of feel bad, but honestly,
no, I do too.
But honestly, these are the people that I'm choosing to let into my life to influence my life. Right? So,
right.
Do I want that?
Do I want the toxicity all the time?
I mean, sometimes, depending on who they are, they need to be in your life. But there's a lot of people that bring a lot of negativity that don't need to be there. So, I mean, you have the power to choose. If they do need to be that, you can still limit it, right? Mm-hmm. Limit your exposure to them. So, I think that's really important to do.
Yeah, and I will say, I feel like there's times and seasons. I feel like sometimes, like for me, sometimes I feel like the Lord brings different people into my life that doesn't mean they have to always be happy-go-lucky, but maybe are kind of just having a negative outlook on things in life. But for me to be that support for them, and because they're showing that they do want to make changes and just don't know how. And so I think that's an important point to make. It's not just like, well, if you're negative Nelly all the time,
right?
See ya.
No, I think that's important. Like, it doesn't mean like, oh, sorry, if you're not upbeat all the time, then you're gonna go. And it's because that kind of does have like a selfish, kind of idea surrounding it, and that's not what it's about. It's not being selfish to the point of like always getting rid of just anyone who brings any ounce of negativity, but it's just being mindful in that you have a little bit of control over who is in your life and the influences that they bring in, because we're all influenced by whoever surrounds us.
We are. That's right. And that starts to like their behaviors and their actions can really start to rub off on us. And do I want that?
Yeah.
So
it's really interesting to pay attention to that. Like if you work or are familiar with somebody and then like a new person comes in, like especially people that just have like kind of that powerful personality, right?
Yes, that energy is,
what, positive or negative. There's that people that have both, and then you'll just start to see and notice people kind of change, or they'll pick up something that they didn't ever say a thing, and they just started the new person. They kind of picked it up from them. So it's kind of neat to see just like how powerful people can and influences people can be. So
right. I know, and I think we all have that unique opportunity too, to be those change agents and be those.
Yeah, I want to be that. I want to be that.
I know, person. Me too. I totally do. I think that's such a cool position to be in, to be able to say you can do that. An
influencer,
right? Yeah, I love that. But yeah, and then like you mentioned the mindful walking, I think that's huge. Like listening to all those five senses. I'll do that sometimes when we're riding our bikes. Just like listen
Close
to the birds. No, I don't want to ride any cars. But yeah, I will just like listen to the birds, look at my surroundings, like smell the air. I think it's just it can be so powerful and just get present.
I think like so. When we were in Nashville a couple weeks ago, and we were climbing, we're almost to the top of this like hour-long climb, and everyone's suffering. And I look over to the right, you can see all the way off the Blue Ridge Parkway, and it's just breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I look over to a friend of mine that we're riding with, and we're both kind of like in the hurt locker a little bit, just riding as hard as we can. I'm like, hey, look over there. Like, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? And you just get that like
totally change that perspective
wow,
too.
Yeah. I mean, let you hurt a little bit more, but yeah, I mean, we're doing it for fun.
Exactly.
So.
That's so cool.
So what are some things do you have any tips rather, how to mitigate stress building up, or, when and how to take those recharges, kind of what you do?
Yeah, I think like really kind of what you mentioned earlier, of just kind of those little micro, kind of like those little micro actions you take. Like for me, it's like taking breaks. And I know it sounds simple, but like, for me, was at work, it's like taking my two.
Like daily at work?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like take those 2 15-minute breaks, take that 30-minute lunch, take those times to allow yourself to recharge. Cause I know I've read things before that even say, if you're giving yourself that break, you're actually fresher when you come back to the task instead of just mulling through it where you can't just think as clear. And so you really are, and this is what really hit me, is that when I'm not taking those breaks, I'm a disservice to the people that I serve because I'm not recharged.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And that really hit me hard because I was like, whoa, I don't want to be like that. I want to be there for people and myself, obviously. So it's like,
I owe the next person or the person that I deal with later in the day a fresh mind.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that has not always been easy for me. And sometimes I struggle with it, taking those breaks. But I think just taking those breaks makes a huge difference for me. And also just allowing myself to get just present with my thoughts and my feelings. So I think a lot of times for myself, I try to run from my feelings and my emotions and just suppress them and not have to ever address them. And so I think, when I can, like one of the ones for me, for instance, is like overeating. Like sometimes I'll be eating, and then I stop myself and I'm like, Anina, like what? You're not even thinking about the food right now. Right now, you're just replaying your whole day of your conversation with so-and-so at work today, So like having to really, just really understand, like, why am I doing the thing I'm doing right now? Am I fully present? And sometimes I will just stop and be like, okay, like get present right now. Breathe into your body. Take some breaths and just, be mindful.
That one's really big for me. I do a lot of like mindless eating.
Yes.
And then also just trying, if I am really run down a little bit, I'll notice. That's a big key for me to notice, like I'm constantly eating and then wait a minute, I'm not even hungry.
Right.
Just trying to find energy somewhere.
Exactly.
And then you get on yourself like, well, I gained 2 pounds or 3, whatever it is. And it's just like, and then you get depressed and you're still fatigued.
Right.
So.
And you're really just continuing to shove those emotions down.
Yeah.
And you can only do that for so long until they have to come out. So for me, that's kind of like what works, just taking those breaks and just those mindful moments. But yeah, that's most impactful for me. Is there one that you would say is really impactful for you?
Yeah. So one, have a plan first. Mm-hmm. So work with someone, a mentor, a coach.
Yeah.
That's really, really important. I think if you have a plan from the beginning, a proper plan will have a goal at the end of it, right? Whether it's athletic or non-athletic in nature, you're going to have a goal at the end of the plan. Or that's why we built a plan. It's not so. And when I can just see it, I can see those blocks of rest built in. I can see the small rest in between the big rest. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's peace of mind to push on or enjoy it, right?
Yes.
Like, so that is huge for me because I can see it coming. Like, it gives me that extra motivation to push on when I am tired. Or, man, this is going to be a big training block. This is going to be a big school session. Like, this is going to be a heavy semester. Make sure you're sleeping well or eating well, or, make sure everything's prioritized correctly.
That makes so much sense.
A plan and goals is first and foremost for me. And then build some sort of rest and recovery in every day. So if I can nap, that's cool. I know that's not possible for me every day or most people every day.
Yeah.
If you can, get it in. Even just a quick little close the eyes recharge is really, really important. Another big one for me is to take media fasts, just whether it's just a 30-minute hour block in the day, or if I haven't been able to do that, like take a longer one, a whole day from something, after a couple weeks or something.
Right.
And the big one, kind of like what I touched on, was avoid gray zone training in life. Just do the things that you need to do, prioritize your life and training accordingly. And the hard stuff, go hard. The easy stuff, the rest days, rest hard. I mean, it's just as important, if not more important, because if you're not rested, then you can't give the full energy in anywhere else. So
true.
That's really big for me. Sleep is huge. So I have a bunch of like tips on how to sleep well that I've kind of learned and found to work well for me.
What is that one, like how many hours you get before 12 o'clock can really be helpful?
There's a couple big things. So hours before midnight is really, really important. They've done a lot of sleep studies and have just shown that consistency of sleep is more important than total hours. So like just to make sure, even if you're not getting 8 is really good, and not everyone needs 8. And there are people that say, well, I thrive off of 4. Well, maybe there are people that can do that from some sleep studies that I've seen, but the number of people are not near as many people that say that. They've just conditioned themselves to think that. So, but anyway, so if you can be consistent in your sleep, even if it's only 6 hours, will be more beneficial than 8 hours that are just like shuffled each night, going to sleep at different times and waking at different times.
Right.
Hours before midnight is really, really important. The quality of sleep before midnight is just shown to be a lot better. So those kind of hours are really good. Avoid alcohol and caffeine.
Right.
Those 4 to 6 hours before sleep, they're really, really important. I personally try to avoid alcohol all the time. I'm not saying I never drink, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
And but caffeine, definitely for me, I've learned that even the afternoon one gets me. Even that 4 hour, I need closer to 6, 7, 8 hours of no caffeine without it really affecting my sleep.
Yeah.
And naps are important. Those quick recharges, if you can. And then for me, I've really started using like an eye mask and earplugs, like to just shut everything out.
Yeah. I like that.
Those are some little sleeping tips that I've found to be extremely helpful for me to get good quality sleep.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you for sharing those. That's really helpful.
Do you have anything that kind of helps you sleep? Is sleep a big thing for you?
For me, sleep, I do have to watch my caffeine intake beforehand. Like I know I've heard like cut it off before 12 or 1. Not always happening for me, but I try. Also, I do like the sleep mask. That has been nice. I don't do it every night, but it does help, like obviously darken the room, and it's getting lighter earlier now. So I do like that piece of it. And I think too, limiting time on your phone or computer before bed.
Yeah, any screen.
Yes, any screen time. I know that makes a big difference for me too. So I think just kind of keeping those things in check and making sure, that the bedroom is like an inviting place as well, that it's comfortable, the lighting, is good.
Right.
I would love to have some room darkening, shade, something like that would be really helpful, but the mask does work for that.
I know one thing that I've heard. Now it doesn't really affect. I've never been a person to kind of really use the bed more than anything. So it's just like the bedroom area is really kind of for sleeping. Like don't just go lounge around and watch movies in bed, like
Right.
I've kind of heard that that's supposed to be really helpful to kind of like, that's almost like a sleeping sanctuary kind of thing,
Right.
like,
If you're tossing and turning, get up and go to another room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that kind of just sets the mind at ease. Like this is a place where we go to sleep.
Yeah.
If I'm not sleeping, and to me, that it's always been more helpful. I'll sleep better if I get up and just do some light stretching or something, even if it's 20, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
When I go back to sleep, I go to sleep and I sleep well versus tossing and turning for an hour or two.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we kind of hit a lot of really good stuff here.
I think so too. Yeah. And of course, if anyone ever has questions or just any other ideas that work for them, like please let us know. We would love to
what works for you?
hear about it.
How do you know when you need rest? What do you do to get that rest? Yeah, I'd love to hear back from everybody and kind of their input on that. Is sleeping and naps a big thing for you, or are you one of those people that only need 4 or 5 hours of sleep?
Yeah.
That'd be cool to hear.
Be
How
great
many
to hear.
how
Yeah.
many people are out there like that?
Yeah.
So I kind of think that kind of wraps up this week's episode of rest, recovery, and how to get that recharge.
Right.
So I guess please share the episode, comment on the episode, subscribe. That's huge and helpful. And please reach out. Like we would love to have people reach out on social media, email,
Yes.
leave a comment, response on iTunes.
Yeah.
all that
Please
stuff,
do, because
super helpful.
we really do this for a service for other people. Just the things we've learned along the way, and that's what we want to do this more from like a servanthood heart and frame of mind. So, if there is anything that comes to you want to share, please do.
Yeah, if you have any ideas or topics that you would like or interested in hearing us discuss, please shoot those, and we'd love to kind of throw that in the bank and kind of come up with some ideas and topics for that. So we're really having a lot of fun recording these.
Yeah, so fun.
It's been fun, really, just to kind of like put all the phones down and everything down and just have that good kind of blocked out. Hey, we're going to have a conversation.
We're going to have a conversation,
Yeah.
Right? Like who in life really gets to do that for this long?
So it's fun. I hope you guys are getting something out of this because, if anything, we are like just having a good conversation. So if we can touch someone and at least one person and get some good info out of it, then that's
it's totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Yeah, it's a blessing to us, and hopefully we're being that to somebody. So very cool. With that, I guess that kind of wraps it up, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Sounds good.
Peace.
Bye.